Humans have a tendency to want to live after they die. This has been documented as far back as human history goes. I would say even well into prehistory, humans have always done this. 40, 50,000 years ago, we have signs of Homo sapiens burying their dead. Today, I want to discuss one of the most historically legendary and well-known stories. A person named Jesus who was worshipped by over 2 billion people on this earth. In their story, this man who becomes God, or was always God, resurrects from the dead and then ascends on high. Humans believe in strange things. We've been believing in animalistic, naturalistic, other types of deities from the animal kingdom, of course. You can look across cultures and see humans believe strange stuff, and we're quite superstitious. A little read of The Believing Brain by Michael Shermer will highlight that for anyone who's willing to pay attention. Everything from UFO sightings to ancient gods descending from heaven, astrological phenomena being understood as deities, animals being understood as deities, reincarnation, Sheol, and the names of all sorts of designations and belief systems, cultic practices, just seems to be part of human nature, an evolutionary product of our history. And I want to point out that this story about Jesus and his empty tomb is a product of its time. It's well known that at this time in history, if someone were to go missing after their death as a noble person, that they would have been considered a god or goddess. This would have been understood in the Greek and Roman world across the board. This is exactly why Josephus has Moses ascend to compete with the Greek and Roman ideas of his time and to assimilate, in a way, syncretize his particular belief system or his cultic belief book, the Hebrew Bible, with those of the Greek and Roman world. Let's explore some ancient literary gems that bear uncanny resemblance to certain biblical narratives. Our first stop is Chariton's enchanting novella, Chariton and Callirhoe. Before we delve into it, let me stress that any parallels we find here are not indicative of a direct genetic connection to the Gospels. Instead, they stem from the shared cultural and intellectual milieu of the time. It seems plausible that the Gospel writers drew upon common literary motifs when crafting their respective accounts of the empty tomb. Imagine this captivating scene. At the crack of dawn, a devoted mourner arrives at the tomb where his beloved had been laid to rest the previous evening. As he approaches, a shiver of apprehension courses through him. The tomb stands open, a silent invitation into the unknown. Others gather, but none dare venture inside, their hearts gripped by fear and confusion. When they discover the absence of the body, a flicker of hope ignites in the mourner's mind. He envisions his beloved whisked away to the celestial realm, transformed into a living goddess. This echoes lesser-known variations of myths surrounding Ariadne and Semele, where their divine elevation followed a mysterious departure from mortal existence. Notably, observe how the arrival order at the tomb parallels the sequence of Peter and the beloved disciple in the Gospel of John. An intriguing detail, indeed. And thus we glimpse the wondrous tapestry of ancient literature where echoes of biblical narratives blend harmoniously with the cultural and literary backdrop of the era. It is a captivating dance that showcases the boundless imagination of the ancient world, shedding light on the narrative choices made by the gospel writers as they weaved their timeless accounts. The ancient Greek novel Callirhoe, also known as Chariton and Callirhoe, is attributed to the writer Chariton of Aphrodite. It is considered one of the earliest surviving novels in Western literature, dating back to the 1st century CE. The plot follows the romantic adventures and tribulations of the main characters, Chariton and Callirhoe. The story begins with the beautiful Callirhoe, a wealthy young woman from Syracuse, who attracts the attention of many suitors due to her striking appearance. She is eventually married to Chariton, a nobleman from Miletus. However, their blissful marriage is short-lived when a Persian nobleman named Dionysus becomes infatuated with Callirhoe and conspires to abduct her. Callirhoe is kidnapped and taken to Asia Minor, where she catches the attention of various powerful men, including pirates and Persian kings. Throughout her journey, she endures numerous trials and adventures. Meanwhile, Chariton relentlessly pursues her, determined to rescue his beloved wife. As the narrative unfolds, Callirhoe's beauty and charm continue to captivate those around her. The missing body motif comes into play when Callirhoe is believed to have died due to fake funeral organized by Dionysus. The tomb is empty, and rumors spread that Callirhoe's body has disappeared, suggesting that she has been translated into a god or immortal being. In Book 3, Section 3, this is what we read. The tomb robbers had been careless in closing the tomb. It was at night, and they were in a hurry. At the crack of dawn, Chariton turned up at the tomb, ostensibly to offer wreaths and libations, but in fact, with the intention of doing away with himself. He could not bear being separated from Callirhoe and thought that death was the only thing that would cure his grief. When he reached the tomb, he found that the stones had been moved and the entrance was open. He was astonished at the sight and overcome by fearful perplexity at what had happened. Rumor, a swift messenger, told the Syracusans this amazing news. They all quickly crowded round the tomb, but no one dared go inside until Heracles gave an order to do so. The man who was sent in reported the whole situation accurately. It seemed incredible that even the corpse was not lying there. Then Chariton himself determined to go in his desire to see Callirhoe again, even dead. But though he hunted through the tomb, he could find nothing. Many people could not believe it and went in after him. They were all seized by helplessness. One of those standing there said, "The funeral offerings have been carried off. It is tomb robbers who have done that. But what about the corpse? Where is it?" Many different suggestions circulated in the crowd. Chariton looked toward the heavens, stretched up his arms, and cried, "Which of the gods is it, then, who has become my rival in love and carried off Callirhoe and is now keeping her with him? Against her will, constrained by a more powerful destiny? That is why she died suddenly, so that she would not realize what was happening. That is how Dionysus took Ariadne from Theseus. how Zeus took Semele. It looks as if I had a goddess for a wife without knowing it, someone above my station. But she should not have left the world so quickly, even for such a reason. Thetis was a goddess, but she stayed with Palus, and he had a son by her. I have been abandoned at the very height of my love. What is to happen to me? What is to become of me? Poor wretch. Should I do away with myself? And who would share my grave? I did have this much to look forward to in my misfortune justification for living. You force me to live, because I shall look for you on land and sea, and in the very sky if I can reach there. This I beg of you, my dear, do not flee from me. At this, the crowd broke out in lamentation. Everyone began to lament for Callirhoe as though she had just died. In the ancient Greek and Roman world, the missing body motif was sometimes interpreted as a sign that a person had attained divine status. The disappearance of the physical remains was seen as evidence of the individual's transformation or ascension to a higher realm. It was believed that gods and goddesses could take their mortal followers to join them in the divine realm, leaving no trace of their earthly bodies behind. Classicists view the missing body motif in Callirhoe as a reflection of the ancient Greek and Roman cultural understanding of divinity. It is a narrative device used to emphasize the explanatory nature of Callirhoe's character and the impact she has on those around her. The empty tomb signifies her transition from a mortal woman to a figure of divine status, elevated to the realm of the gods. This motif aligns with the broader themes and motifs found in ancient mythology and religious traditions. It taps into the belief in the possibility of divine transformation and the notion that exceptional individuals could be honored as deities after death. In the case of Callirhoe, her missing body reinforces the idea that she has transcended the limitations of mortality and has become a figure worthy of veneration and divine status in the eyes of the ancient Greeks. As I'm sucked into the fascinating worlds of ancient Greece and Rome, I'm thrilled to delve into the captivating realm of myth and legends. Within these ancient cultures, there exists a rich tapestry of stories that have been passed down through generations, filled with awe-inspiring tales of mortals ascending to divine status. Among these stories, one reoccurring motif revolves around individuals whose bodies mysteriously vanish, leaving their worshippers in awe and fear, and leading to their proclamation as gods. One such renowned tale is that of Romulus, the legendary founder of Rome. According to the ancient Roman historian Livy, Romulus, along with his twin brother Remus, was abandoned as an infant and raised by a she-wolf. As the twins grew older, they decided to establish a city of their own, but a bitter dispute erupted over who would be its ruler. In the heat of the moment, Romulus slew his brother Remus, solidifying his claim to power. However, the fate of Romulus himself remained shrouded in mystery. It is said that one day, while addressing the people of Rome, he was suddenly enveloped by a violent storm as the tempest raged. Romulus vanished without a trace, leaving the citizens bewildered and fearful. In the aftermath, it was declared that Romulus had ascended to the realm of the gods, becoming the divine figure known as Chariton, the protector and deified founder of Rome. Another captivating tale hails from ancient Greece, the land renowned for its pantheon of gods and heroes. Among the numerous accounts of individuals vanishing and ascending to divinity, the story of Heracles, or Hercules, stands as a prime example. Born as the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and the mortal woman Alcmene, Heracles possessed extraordinary strength and courage. One of the most renowned of Heracles' labors was the cleansing of the Aegean stables. As the myth goes, Heracles was tasked with the seemingly impossible feat of cleaning the vast, filthy stables of King Aegeus. Employing his strength and ingenuity, Heracles diverted the course of two rivers, washing away the accumulated filth in a single day. Yet upon completing the superhuman task, Heracles mysteriously vanished, leaving behind no trace of his mortal form. The people of ancient Greece, awestruck by Heracles' incredible deeds and his sudden disappearance, came to believe that he had transcended his mortal existence. They revered him as a god, honoring him in their prayers and attributing various miracles and acts of heroisms to his divine intervention. These tales of mortals ascending to godhood through the enigma of their vanishing bodies are emblematic of the fascination with transcendence and the blurred boundaries between the mortal and divine realms in the ancient Greek and Roman cultures. These legends not only entertained the people, but also conveyed profound messages about the nature of heroism, the pursuit of immortality, and the complex relationship between humans and gods in the ancient world. There's another cult, considered the Zalmoxis cult, that Herodotus documents. I won't go too far into the details, but again, he goes missing for 3 years and comes back, showing he has gone to another realm and that his devotees, his cultic practitioners that follow in his footsteps, will also live forever. The point about this concept of missing bodies in the translation fables, as coined by Richard C. Miller, of individuals becoming gods, certainly has an interesting parallel with the story of the missing body of Jesus at his tomb in the Gospels. The accounts of Jesus' resurrection and the empty tomb play a central role in Christian theology, and of course, they need it to be historically literally true for the most part. It would be rare to find a Christian who thinks that this is a legendary tale like that of Chariton and Callirhoe in the novel we read above. But this looks to be the most convincing data. Take, for example, Matthew's Gospel. We know in Mark's it's women that come to the tomb and no one else. And they are fearful and they go and tell no one. The end. They added extra endings. Chapter 16, 9 through whatever the verse may be. Different endings to Mark occur in early church history. Matthew documents that the women and also men show up. But the women who are there go and the tomb is sealed shut. Then an angel appears, removing the stone so that they can see he is not in the tomb. How did he get out of the tomb? Richard C. Miller points out that only gods could vanish, appear, transform, walk through walls, and yet still be in their bodies, be physical. Jesus is showing his divinity in this very act. Technically, the author is trying to portray Jesus as divine. The Gospels have the empty tomb narrative, and these Gospels are written contemporaneous or even a little later than the Callirhoe novel. When I'm looking at the Gospels and I look at several of the other Greek and Roman heroes whose bodies go missing, they vanish in a river, or water, lightning bolt from Zeus, or in a battle, empty tombs, they're missing from their tomb. This, to me, signals that Jesus is also fitting this same legendary topos. To go a step further, if one must have historical memory or kernel in the gospel narratives with the empty tomb, then you could really understand why there would be motivated reasoning for removing Jesus' body as a devotee, getting rid of the body after he was dead, so that others would think he was a god. You may think that sounds like an idiotic proposition, but in the Roman imperial cult, when Caesar Augustus is dead and they go to honor him with the burning on the pyre, they created a wax effigy, and the public audience watched him burn where there's no bones that remain, just like Hercules. Hercules dies on a pyre, his bones do not remain, and the devotees say he has transcended to Mount Olympus, becoming a god. They did the same thing with the Caesars. While they might have had a private funeral, the family only would have known and seen him actually be buried, and no one else. Everyone else would witness the wax effigy melt and the whole body vanish right in front of their eyes. Do the disciples, or does this author intend to convey something similar? Did people really try to remove his body from the scene so that they could then declare him as a god and give post-mortem appearances like that of Romulus, where he appears to Chariton, or being Chariton, appears to Proculus Julius on a road? What about the other figures that appear after they're dead to devotees who go and say they're eyewitnesses to them after they're dead? I want to be as fair as I can and see it for what it is. It looks like legend. It walks like legend. It talks like legend. The empty tomb seems to me to be legend. And even if you think Jesus' body going missing is some historical kernel, it would only fit the tradition of getting rid of the body of your hero so that people then believe he was a god. So whether it's self-fulfilled or literary from start to finish, it is legendary.